अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाजरीन, प्रोग्राम रॉयल एक्सक्लूसिव के साथ आपका मेज़बान बिलाल यामीन हाजिर है। नाजरीन, जैसा कि आपको मालूम है, हम पिछले चंद दिनों से जो पाकिस्तान को सैलाब ज़दगान के लिए मिलने वाली इमदाद है, उन ममालिक के जो एम्बेसडर्स हैं और उन ममालिक के जो सफ़ीर हजरात हैं उनसे गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं। और आज हमारे साथ यूरोपीय यूनियन के सफ़ीर मौजूद हैं। हम इनसे गुफ्तगू करेंगे कि उन्होंने पाकिस्तान की इस मुसीबत की घड़ी में पाकिस्तान का कैसे साथ दिया और पाकिस्तान की आवाम की जो ख्वाहिशात हैं, जो तवक्कुआत हैं EU से, उस पर भी हमारे इनसे गुफ्तगू होगी। Thank you, Ian, for joining us over here.
Thank you.
Ian, I'll just show you the clips of this over here, the disasters which destroyed everything in Pakistan, and the aid which came from EU. I just want a few clips of that. This whole road is destroyed, washed off by the water. Infrastructure is badly damaged. Houses in the water. This is your plan which brought aid over here. Probably the Italian ambassador. Your prompt reaction. Your commissioner visited Pakistan. Jal Nadeem DGM, Chairman NDMA is briefing her. She is with the Foreign Minister of Pakistan. Sir, you have seen all this. You must have been to the area. My first question is regarding what is the assistance which has been announced by the EU for these flood victims?
Well, so far we've concentrated on humanitarian assistance, and up to yesterday the amounts that have been pledged by 23 out of 27 member states and the European Commission together amount to about 260 million euro, about 350 million dollars. That is partly in-kind contributions, like the contribution, one of the contributions you saw when the plane came in. There have been more flights like that, and there will be more flights coming. And the rest of the money is going through NGOs and through the UN organizations and ICRC to deal with food relief, to help with medical aid, shelters, etc., etc. And if you compare that to what the UN has estimated has been pledged so far, it's just over $1 billion. We can say the European Union is doing about 33% of that.
I just want to know one thing more from you. But does any of your government and EU setup has announced any specific appeal from the EU people living in their countries to contribute for these victims?
Not that I specifically know, but for instance, when we saw that Commissioner Georgieva was here, after she went back to Brussels, she also spoke in the plenary session of the European Parliament, and other ministers from other countries from the EU have been here too. So it is well publicized. But the interesting thing is that in a lot of countries, private donations or private collections have started. And if you would only take Germany, for instance, they have so far been able to bring together about 65 million euro of private the nations, and similar things are going on in other countries in the EU. It's a reflection of the solidarity that people feel with the victims of these floods.
My next question is regarding the distribution of this aid. You have already told that NGOs are there to distribute it, and why not the government? Don't you think the government capacity is much better than the NGOs?
For humanitarian assistance, we hardly ever, anywhere in the world, channel our assistance through the government. The reason for that is mainly because the government's capacity following these type of disasters is normally stretched beyond limits. There are systems, global systems in place, such as in the UN, who have agencies who know how to deal with that. So that is the main reason why humanitarian assistance from the European Commission, but also from the European Union member states, hardly ever is channeled through government channels. When we come later in terms of rehabilitation and reconstruction, we have a look what the capacities are. Of course, in Pakistan, there is an additional issue which is not exclusive to Pakistan, but there is a perception of serious corruption and lack of governance. And we know that the government is trying to address that. That is difficult. So that's another reason. We need to make sure that our taxpayers who ultimately pay for this assistance are confident that if they give anything, or if their governments give anything, that we can hold the agencies that we channel the money through are held accountable. And we insist on that. Because that's the only way we can justify this type of assistance, and to try and make sure that more may be made available.
You've talked about a rehabilitation phase. I just want to know this thing. Any of your countries or under EU, does Pakistani people expect this thing from you people, that you will in the reconstruction phase you will take a few projects, and in the phase of rehabilitation you will the people you have seen over here, everything has been destroyed over there. Yeah. The economy is going down and their houses are destroyed. To rehabilitate these people, what your country is going to do for them?
Yeah, there will be a meeting of the foreign ministers of the European Union also in Brussels, and Pakistan and the floods are going to be a major item on the agenda. And we can expect that proposals will be made for a reconstruction plan. If I look at the earthquake, which in many ways was a far more visible disaster in terms of many victims over a very short period of time, and a physical area that is reasonably well confined, we are only now finalizing the reconstruction of schools there, 5 years after this happened. So if we look at it in that way, we can expect that at least for the next 3 to 5 years, much of the country will be in reconstruction mode. And we are already working on that here in my office here in Islamabad, but also in Brussels and in various capitals around Europe, to see what do we need to do over the next 3 to 5 years to respond in the most effective and the most efficient way to help with the reconstruction. It is clear that the bill of this reconstruction program is such that the government needs to do something serious too. Pakistan needs to embark, and this is a time that is better than ever before, needs to embark on serious political, economic reform, needs to get its fiscal house in order. We've already have already estimates that it should not be too difficult for Pakistan to collect another $1.5 to $2.5 billion in taxes every year. Now, if I put that over a period of 5 years, you would have 10, 12 billion dollars available, Pakistan itself, to contribute towards reconstruction. It is then that you can expect from the international community to also make maybe an extra step and say, okay, how can we help? For ourselves, we are already quite advanced to some extent look at our current portfolio and say, well, which projects are not implementable anymore? I'll give you an example. We were supposed to have a rural electrification project, but 50% of the villages that was going to be implemented in don't exist anymore. So we need to adapt. And European governments are ready to have a look at that. But it will be necessary for Pakistan itself to also make sure that some of the reforms that they themselves have on their agenda are now actually being implemented.
Pakistan economy is already facing a stretch. You know that
Yes.
this because of the war on terror.
Yes.
Pakistan is facing
Yes.
already facing a stretched economy. So that's why people over here have this perception that the friends of Pakistan will help them out in this disaster like this. No country like even countries like America and the countries like in EU, it is difficult for them to face these type of disasters and to come up with. Definitely what you said, I agree with that. The government of Pakistan
Yes.
should put a step down and collect more taxes for the rehabilitation of these people. The last question which I want to ask you from is regarding the trade agreement. Can we have a free trade agreement with EU Pakistan, which is in near future? Do you see that?
Not in the near future, no. I can't look in my crystal ball. Free trade agreement, I think, is quite a long-term project. We're not even sure whether it will be to the benefit of Pakistan to have a free trade agreement. But what we definitely, and this is a political commitment, and that will be talked about seriously on Friday in Brussels too. There is serious political will in Europe to look at ways to get more exports from Pakistan into Europe. We're already the largest export market for Pakistan. Over the last 5 years, about 20% of Pakistan exports went to Europe. So we're a relatively open market. But more can be done and more should be done because we understand the economic importance for it, we understand the political importance for it, and we also understand that it will create employment, which is important also in the next few years. So there is political will, but at the same time, also in Europe, some countries are going through an economic crisis. And there are still textile industries in Europe too, and we can argue whether the Pakistani textile industries are actually competitors of them or not. I personally think these textile industries are probably more competing with goods coming from China and so on. But be that as it may, these people and these industries have important lobbies with their own government. So we need to overcome these obstacles. But the political will is definitely there, and I would hope that we can find a way to relatively quickly put a system into place whereby Pakistan can economically benefit more from exports into the EU.
Thank you जैन for your time and everything. नाज़रीन, आपने एम्बेसडर जैन की गुफ्तगू सुनी और ट्रेड के हवाले से भी उनसे हमारी आज गुफ्तगू हुई और जो पाकिस्तान के हवाले से इमदाद के हवाले से उनसे गुफ्तगू हुई। उन्होंने हुकूमत पाकिस्तान के हवाले से कहा कि उनको भी अपने जो उनके माली मामलात हैं उस पर तवज्जो देनी चाहिए और उनको चाहिए कि पाकिस्तान अपनी जो इकनॉमिक कंडीशन है उसको बेहतर करे। और मैं समझता हूँ ये उनका मशवरा बिल्कुल दुरुस्त है कि पाकिस्तान को अपनी जो इस वक्त उनकी जो माली सूरत हाल है हुकूमत की और जो मैं समझता हूँ बैरूनी दुनिया का जो एक अदम एतमाद पाया जाता है उस पर तवज्जो देने की ज़रूरत है। आज इस प्रोग्राम से अपने मेज़बान बिलाल यामीन और एम्बेसडर जैन को इजाज़त दीजिए। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।